Susie walked into the hallway and saw the yellow sign immediately. It was a plain yellow piece of paper taped on all four sides to the white wooden door that led up to the attic. On it, written in thick black marker, "Do not knock on this door." What an odd request. Susie didn't recognize the handwriting as her mother's or father's. She walked towards the door to get a better look at the sign. The sign hadn't been there the day or the night before. She would have seen it. To get to her room, you would have to climb the stairs and walk past the attic door. No, not there before, unless one of her parents taped it up after she went to bed. She shrugged her shoulders and turned to the stairs. One long, low groan crept out from underneath the attic door. Susie shrieked. Mom and Dad were out for the morning. Groceries. No one else could be in the house, except her. For someone to be in the attic? Behind a door that's not to be opened? That would be impossible. She pressed her ear to the door, just below the sign, her hand on the brass doorknob. She jumped back from the door. Something was in there. Maybe it was a pet. Maybe knocking on the door would startle it and bark and ruin the surprise. Maybe her parents were going to surprise her with a cute puppy. But why? Her 13th birthday wasn't for another 6 months. Her grades were okay, straight B's. Why a gift? The groans started again, this time louder. It seemed to flow from underneath the door and through it, growing louder, deeper. Susie stepped to the other side of the small hallway until she was flush with the wall. She was going to scream. Then, the steady groan stopped. Susie was alone. She held her breath. Nothing. She silently stood in the hallway waiting for a sound until she remembered to breathe. She then stood still for a few minutes longer. Her legs began to tire. Her eyes never wavered from the black message. She shook her head and went downstairs. After breakfast, Susie walked back upstairs, and as she went to her room, she stared at the closed door. What could be in there? If it was a puppy or a gift of whatever, why couldn't it be kept in the garage or the pantry until her parents were ready to present it to her? And why would it be groaning? Did it really groan? Susie tried to remember if she had actually heard the steady groan. That part of her morning seemed like it was years ago. Could have happened. Susie went into her bedroom. After showering and getting dressed, Susie walked back into the hall to look at the door again. It was now 10:30 and her parents were still not back from the store. It'd probably be another hour. She could open the door, discover what it was her parents had bought her, and be sitting on the couch downstairs in 1 minute tops. Then it dawned on her. There was no lock on the attic door. If she really wanted to, she could snoop around. And if there was something beastly up in the attic, then, if it had half a brain, it could turn the doorknob on its own and eat her alive. Duh. Full of confidence, she walked to the attic door, put her warm hand on the cold brass, and twisted the knob. Then she pulled back. Staring at the yellow sign, she said, "Maybe I should knock first." She knocked on the door 3 times and the wood door exploded. A long, furry green hook shot through the door, splintering it. Susie tried to scream, but the claw was deep in her face and down her throat. It yanked the girl into the attic. "Susie! Susie!" echoed up the stairs into the hall and through the rest of the house. Her mom stopped at the base of the stairs. "Susie! Can you help us with the bags?" No reply. Susie's mother climbed the stairs. "Suze, you home?" She reached the top and saw the yellow sign on the closed attic door. "Do not knock on this door," it read. "Susie, is this a game?" No reply. Smiling, she made a fist and rapped twice on the door. Larry and Michelle Bauer, ages 38 and 40, were not at home in picket fenced 110. Neither were their kids, Charlie and Katrina, ages 9 and 4. Larry worked as a contractor while Michelle took care of the kids, homeschooling them and such. Jerome would never know any of this. All he knew as he crossed the street to 109 was that the Bauer family were not going to die anytime soon. There were a couple of families living in 109, 2 families of 4 crammed into a 3-bedroom, 4-bath house. Jerome shook his head. Those people gave people like him a bad reputation. Not that he needed any help. Jerome felt a cough coming on, but he stifled it. Save it, he told himself. Somehow, he did. He squinted as a cloud rolled out of the way of the sun. The actual owners of 109, Jean and Sandra Baptiste, were both at work. Jean owned and operated a mobile detail company, and Sandra was a receptionist at a doctor's office. Their children, Mark and Peter, were in 9th grade. Jean's sister, Marlene, and her 3 kids, Yolanda, Deidre, and Fritz, lived with the successful family. Marlene's life wasn't as rosy as her brother's, but at least she had the fortune to have an opportunity for a better path. She attended nursing school while juggling taking care of her kids and a part-time temp job at a bank. Yolanda was in 5th grade, while her younger siblings from different fathers were babysat by a family friend who didn't live in the neighborhood. Jerome would never know any of this. All he knew was that he was going to die soon. 108 gave him the creeps for some reason. He felt chills as he glanced at the house. Chills that came from fright, not his ailment. It was best to leave those folks alone. 106 was next. Chuck and Vicky Crane, 54 and 58. Retired, no children. Jerome never really saw them, but right now he was not picky. Heck no, he wasn't. Time slowed for him. Soon it would stop and he would be frozen in a moment for all eternity. Oblivion. Sometimes death was quick. Sometimes it was slow. But after the end, the dark abyss went on forever like one long image that never becomes distorted. A dream of eons in the space of an imagined second. Jerome wished he could have written that down. Instead, he walked up to the front door and knocked, just as he had done at the previous 7 houses. At first, he thought no one would answer, but he heard someone step up to the door. The door opened slightly. It was the man of the house, but Jerome didn't know or care. It was a person, a real breathing human being, and that was all that mattered. "Can I help you?" Chucky Boy said. The guy bounced with each syllable. The door was only cracked open, but it was more protection than what Jerome had when his life became measured in hours. "I don't look so good," Jerome absently said to himself. He looked up at Chuck, who had no idea that infinity was right around the corner. "Do it," Jerome told himself. He had no qualms about doing it. This was why he was taking his last walk. To spread the health. Why the heck not? Jerome breathed as deep as his failing lungs would allow and coughed in Chuck's direction. "I have COVID," Jerome said before stumbling away. Chuck panicked and called the cops. He'd eventually succumb to the virus, but not before spreading it to his sleeping wife. She also perished. But Jerome would never know any of this.